everybody. Can everybody hear me? I hope. Start off this first one right. Maybe we got the voice working. Okay. Hello, Judy and Cat Lady. And of course, the boss is here, so we got to be careful about what we say. So, is anybody out there? I know there's several people online. I can see you. Hello. Hello, hello. So today, exciting first day of the live stream for me here. So I can hear you, but I talk really quietly. That's probably part of the problem. Let me know if it gets a little bit louder as we go along here. I'm just turning up the microphone. Hopefully that gets a little bit better over the time here. If it's not, let me know and I will increase the volume. I can do that. It's quite easy. I just turn this little knob over here. One of those fancy technology things, right? It's like on the old TVs, we had the volume knobs. Okay, so hopefully we can get started here. I think what we're going to do is talk a little bit at first about some of the things that we plan to do with this specific episode, as well as need more volume. Let's see if I can turn it up in software as well. Eventually we'll have all of these settings done and we won't have to fiddle with it because we're coming to a new setting. And hopefully that is better. I can't turn it up much more than that, otherwise it's going to distort things quite drastically. So, okay, so excellent. Glad it's better. What we plan to do when I turn my head, which way? This way or that way? I'm going to twist my mic a little bit here, and it might just be situated wrong in there. How's that? Is that better? Maybe hitting the microphone pad a little bit better. Awesome. Okay, so what we had planned to do for these sessions is just to start talking about some of the tools and things that we use here in the shop, but also some of the other things that we could do within that you guys are interested in. Oh goodness, let's not go there. Some of the things that you guys are interested in as far as some of the technology that we work on to do quilting in itself. Yeah, be careful, the boss is around, so you know none of that flirty stuff. She'll get upset and then never know what'll happen. So so today we're going to work on what we had thought we were going to work on is some EQ8. And what we're looking to do this week, and once every Thursday of every month, we're going to do a block of the month. So we're going to design the block with you, and then we're going to go ahead and move forward from the block of the month into see how red. It's very possible that it'll happen at some point when I make a huge mistake. So you'll see how red I get when that happens. So we're going to do a block of the month, and as part of that we're going to do the design on the Thursday, and the following weekend project, we're gonna make Mom do the actual creation of the blocks. So we want to make them as hard as possible and as complex as possible, and just to make her happy, obviously, because she loves a challenge, right? So we're gonna start start doing some of the design work for our first block of the month, and I think we're gonna do something fairly straightforward this month, just as a beginner for everybody. I don't know how many people have access to EQ8, but this is what you can see on the screen here is the actual application, the front page. So we're going to actually start a new project and design it right. The whole 12 months we're going to design from as we go each month. We're going to put new blocks into this quilt. So if you don't have it, don't worry about it. What we will do is we will post the finished blocks on our website, so you will be able to get access to it. So EQ8 is essentially it's a quilting tool for building quilts, and I think you'll see as we go forward it has a lot of features in it. If you have EQ7, which is the predecessor to this version, it's also I also have that, so we can go through some of the general concepts around it as well. So definitely, if you don't have it, or you have EQ7, some of the things that you're going to look at as far as design tutorials goes, this is one of the tools that I found is one of the best tools on the market today. So yeah, it absolutely is expensive, but as I said, it does so many different things for you. Hi Sandra. So let's take a quick look here and just get some familiarity with the application. So across the top you have your standard menu. Here it's obviously your file menu, your edit, view, work table, and we'll go a lot into the work table because we're going to be bouncing around in the work table quite a bit. Yeah, it is fairly expensive, but if you're doing design work and you're doing a lot of work with getting information out to people from a design and build perspective, or if you have customers that you want to work with, this is a really great tool for being able to work up the content so that they can see it before you actually give it to them. I know a lot of people don't necessarily do this right now, but it's a really good way to see it. If you do have some other applications that you want to use, definitely drop us a line either on Facebook or through Google+. And we'll try and pick those tools up and see what we can do to try and help you through some of that knowledge as well. So we're going to start off here with a new project. Yeah, it is a bit pricey, but honestly, like I said, it is one of the best tools out there. Hi Karen, nice to see you. So we're going to call this monthly quilt along. So we're going to call it this, and we click OK as soon as the mouse comes back. Thanks, Anita. I appreciate the fact that you want us to handle the big ticket stuff. So we're going to design a quilt from scratch here. So what it doesn't show you is that you've actually now created a new file, a new program file, and you can see that up here at the top. It's pretty straightforward. It tells you what the file name is, and then the file extension for EQ8 is PJ8. So just going to click on Design a New Quilt Block, and you can see here now that you've got a completely different view. It's quite a different view from the original one, obviously, because you're going to now start to build out what your quilt is going to look like. So we're going to step off we'll start off with the new quilt section, and it has horizontal, on point, variable on point. This should be familiar with the stacking tumble blocks that we've done in the past as a video. And then some variable, so not quite the same shape, as well as some horizontal stripes, some vertical stripes, hexagons, our favorite, right? Everybody loves hexagons. Some photo patchwork, and then some custom setups. And then you can open a library that's been defined for different different things that they've already that's good to see, Kayo. I'll take a look at that later. Definitely a tool that if we can get a free tool, I'm happy to try and use it and try and figure it out. Again, I'm not a professional with this tool yet, but I do spend a lot of time in here. In the last probably 2 months, probably over 60 hours, 80 hours worth of time spent in here, just as a hobby. So if you want to definitely give me some advice on that, I'd be happy to take a look at that app and continue to grow from there. So what we're looking at here now is we're going to just do a straight horizontal as far as our plan goes for this. We do already have a series of blocks that we want to utilize, but we're going to go through and show you how we build them every week. So it's fairly straightforward. And yeah, what I will do is I will show you a couple of the blocks that we've designed in here, just to give you some ideas of what kind of things you can do. So the next tab over is the layout tab. It allows you to determine the number of blocks in your quilt. So there's 12 months in the year, so we're going to try and make sure that we hit 12 months. So we're probably not going to do any more than 12 blocks. But if I keep adding them, it's not going to help us. So we're going to subtract them here. So now we've got 4 by 3. As you can see, the block window itself changes so that you can actually determine where you want your layout. So if you didn't want it laid out 4 this way, 3 down, you can always change it and go back in and change it the opposite direction. So you've got a series of blocks that can go either way. And then from there you move on to the size of your blocks. In this case, we're going to be doing a very large block. That's 16 inches, in my opinion, large. I'm sure some people, this will make people happy because it's fairly large and it's not those tiny paper piecing that I usually build for everybody. And now in the last block, or the last block of information here, you can set sashing. So you can include sashing with sash borders, and determine what you want to have. So you can see very quickly how you can just change the actual look of the quilt just by adding some sashing. In this case, for this work along, we're not going to add any sashing, so we're just going to remove those settings. But just so that you can be aware of it, it's definitely one of those options for depending on the type of quilt that you're going to be building that you want to keep considering. The next tab over is borders, and as you can see along the top, there's a ton of different borders that you can set up. And you'll notice that it sets up individual blocks. It'll set up half drop blocks, space squares, and so on and so forth. There's a ton of different options here. And really, if you're getting into this and you really want to do some interesting designs, you really want to play with some of these things. As you can see, little diamonds, big diamonds, and little diamonds. And this will really depend on how big you make your border. So in this case, we're going to go with mirrored because we all know how much Mom loves her mirrored corners. So we're going to add some mirrors. And I think we're going to add 2 borders. So in this case, we've got this one border here, and we're going to leave that at, or we're actually going to increase this to 2 inches. And we want to do it on all sides because we're not making an odd shaped quilt, but you can make some pretty interesting things with this. So there you go. And now we have the first border. So what we want to do is add this add another border, and you'll notice here it says clone the selected border. I don't want to make anything too much different, but what it does, it will include all of the settings that you've done here. So we're just going to add this, and you can see now we've got another 2-inch border. So if you ever wanted to go back in and edit it, you can go back to this one. So for example, we actually didn't want 2, we wanted 2.5. And you can see here, I've now just made that 2.5 all the way across. There is a locking option here where you can lock all the sizes so that when you drag one slider, it changes the slider for all of them. It's really quite cool because it gives you the ability to do something very quickly where you don't have to worry about anything. So I'm going to go over to the second one here, and I want to make this one just a little bit bigger. We're going to go to 4 inches for this one. So 2.5 and 4 inches creates a nice frame outlook for the whole outlook of the quilt. So we've got a picture frame for what we're going to make in the future. So next comes the design tab, and you'll notice over here these are some of the default blocks that just come straight out of the book. It's you know, you can take these and you can put these in here and create your own layouts. So for example, I'm just gonna play around here and put some things in place, and we're gonna put that there, and you can see how very quickly you can lay out a design. Here, let's do this. One of the cool things about when you're building blocks is you'll see when we get into the block tab that you can't really see things in the same way that you would see them in this space here. So you can start to see here very quickly that I can turn some of these blocks around, and it creates a completely different look within the actual the quilt from what I just dumped them in. So your individual block that you create, as you turn it and as you look at it beside other blocks, you're going to find that sometimes they fit better, sometimes they fit worse, and sometimes you erase the block just like that. So the other thing that you can do, and we're going to touch on some of these later, this program actually gives you the capability of using specific types of stitches and drawing your stitches onto the overlay of this, so you can actually import, yeah, absolutely, you can import your own designs. So what we're going to do right now is we're actually, this layout here is called the quilting work table, or the quilt work table. So we're going to move over now into the block work table, and this gives you a block essentially. So on the block you have the capability of basically building anything you want. You'll notice that we have a 12 by 12 block, so 12 inches here to 12 inches up here in the corner, and it gives you the capability of drawing your own block. So I'm going to use here is just the pieced block. We're going to use applique. It's taken me a long time to get interested in this, and when we found the software, it was one of those things that really triggered me, Nicole. So it's something that I'm very interested in. So you can also set up applique blocks. You can set up pieced and applique, so a combination of things, and then creating serendipity. I haven't touched that one yet, so I'm not even going to speak on it, but definitely worked in the pieced environment. I prefer easy draw, so I'm going to work in easy draw. So we're going to start with the grid tool, because what we're going to do is going to be fairly standard across everything. what I like to do is grid out my work. There's two aspects to the work here, and the first one is it has to be buildable. So when you draw things, you have to consider it not only from a designer's perspective, so somebody who's looking at the colors in the picture and what you're going to see in the actual design. What you see in the actual design is, yeah, I thought that might be what you were saying, Nicole. What you're going to see in the actual design is something fairly different than what you would see as a quilter. So the quilter looks for things and how they put things together, whereas the designer looks for how things look. And in this case, we're going to start out as designers and try and make something that looks neat to us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just, let's draw some half square triangles. Now that we've got our grid down, we know what those look like. And we're just going to draw some of those in here. Hi, Haley. It's nice to see you. So now we've got some half square triangles and we're starting to build, I don't know, a starship of some sort. And so we've got some plain squares here, and I think I want to change these around a little bit. And we're going to just keep drawing some lines to make things look interesting. I like triangles, by the way, just in case anybody asks. I like triangles and circles. I hope everybody's still got all their fingers today. Nobody's cut them off with their rotary cutters again. So look how quickly we've come to a star. It's really quite simple in this tool to come up with some interesting activities. So we're going to put a square, I think, in the middle here. And one more square, because I like squares in the center of things, just to create some depth into the center of the picture. So as you can see, very quickly we come up with ways that we can build a block. Each of the blocks is very straightforward, and this is just a simple example of how we can do things. So this is a program for designing quilts and designing blocks. We'll be doing some quilting work in probably next week's. We'll probably do some of that. That's great to hear, Pat. So now that we've got an outline, everybody loves color. So we're going to be working with these two colors specifically for this project. And as you can see, you can very quickly create some color blocks and visually see how things pop out. So now we've got a really cute star shape with some blocks twisted in the center, as well as some outlines, half square triangles. So it gives it a really nice image, in my opinion, of what you can do. So what does everybody think about this block? So the size of the block is right here. It's 12 inches by 12 inches. If we were to draw this or change this, we can actually go back into the draw tab and change it right here. So we can change this to 6 inches. And you'll notice that it automatically adjusts to 6 inches by 6 inches. So Thanks, Judy. I appreciate that. And I'm not here, you know, we're not selling this product for the company, but you know, if you're interested in this type of thing, it's one of the, like I said, one of the best tools I've found. So again, readjusts. One of the things I didn't talk about was the snaps and the grid sizing. So the grid sizing on this, I currently have it set to 1 inch by 1 inch. You can actually change this. So for example, if you wanted a grid every half inch, you would obviously change it. If you've got 12, generally you would go to 24. So multiples of your block width. And that gives you the capability of, if you have snap to grid on, which I thought I did, strap to nodes, snap to grid to points, it should go on. Nope. So one of the challenges is if you don't set this up correctly, and I realized that I didn't put enough grid points in. So now once I put the 26 probably wouldn't be a good number. 24 would work. When I put this in now, it should snap, but it's not going to, of course. There are challenges with everything. There we go. So now you can see we can put different lines in here. And we're going to make a Y seam here just to make everybody happy. I know everybody loves Y seams, right? Just want to show you some of the things you can do. We've already had a discussion today about Y seams, and these won't stay in the final design. Yeah, you can do this on paper. It's challenging on paper to make it for everybody else though. So this is one of the reasons why I use this tool, so that I can make it for you guys. Okay. So now with a few simple lines, this has pretty much changed the entire aspect of this design, essentially. So we're just going to put some different color in here. Let's add these in here like this. And we can see exactly how it's going to come together. So the whole software is installed directly, Judy, to your computer. So it's an actual, you can either buy it or you can download it, buy it on a disk, or you can download it off the internet and install it. So it's really quite quick to build something that is complex, but at the same time looks really good. So everybody likes this one. I think we might leave it like this. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the boss says. It may not end up like this, but what we'll do is we'll now take a look at it over on the quilting table. So we went into design directly. It's EQ8 is the name of the program. So we look at the design, and one of the functions here is the block tools, and we need to be looking at the block tools section so that we can actually set the new block. And you notice here that it's set here. So let's take that block and we're going to put it into this first location. And what I wanted to show you is that as soon as you put something into the tool, you can actually see what it looks like as an individual block across all of the entire yeah, I know she will, but that's up to her. She can say no and just do the half squares, and well, what we can do is show everybody how to do Y seams. Or we can go back to the half square triangle. It doesn't matter. It's just a design that we're using as an example for right now. But I wanted to show everybody that how it looks. In this case, rotating it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. In fact, it's going to make no difference because it's symmetrical all the way around. But when you look at the quilt as an overall quilt, it looks amazing, as you say, Cat Lady. So let's go back into the block work table. We did Y seams here, so why don't we do Y seams on the outside just to make it even more fun? So we're going to take this and we're going to come out an inch, and we're going to draw from the same line here. We're going to make another in each of the corners. Again, we're symmetrical. We're trying to create that that in this one we're creating a symmetric look to the whole image, and we're going to keep drawing some lines. It's amazing how quickly you can come up with just a beautiful picture. Okay, now we've got this is now a completely different look, because we're going to take this and we're going to go, we're actually going to go here and, oops. Tone down the weights a little bit. Go with the cream. And just with a couple more lines, you've got, I believe that's correct, Ali. And so it has a completely different look. And you notice that all we're doing is adding a few lines, like 3 lines per block. Now let's add this back in. So up here, you actually have to save this to the project sketchbook. So now it's in the project sketchbook, and you can see it right here. So just a simple change you can see between the two has changed the dynamics of that block. So let's go back over to the quilt, and let's put that new block in instead. And look at how much that's changed that quilt. So quite simple ways of changing your block and your design to make it look just amazing in my personal opinion. So I'm going to go back to the borders section here, and if I remember correctly how to do this, we're going to go to design and colors, and I want a black. That's not black. There we go. So I'm going to put a black border around this. Border, I guess, maybe. So one of the cool features here is the eyedropper, sorry. So it's in the quilt, so I'm grabbing it from the quilt. And there you go. Absolutely, and the cool thing about this is we can go in here right now. We're using the fabric tools option within the actual quilt design. So if you wanted to look at blues and purples, so all I have to do now to audition those is hold down my control button, and now all of those blues are being changed throughout the quilt. We can do greens and purples. Whoops, not that one. There's the blue. And you said purple. Purple. Let's see if we got a purple. Oh, look, we got purples. And as you can see, it's very easy to try out your colors here as well before you go shopping. So you can look at the different fabrics and maybe we use a different purple. And you've got two-tone purple. So some orange is in here. Let's throw a vibrant red in all the blocks in the center. No, I don't like that. Change that. Let's do this. And as we continue to play with it, we can make it bright. Or we could subdue some of the pieces. And you notice that brings out a different part of the actual design. The original design was for this star, but we've actually made it part, the bright part, the corners. So we've actually changed what our focus is just by changing the colors of those things. So this one's a very bright revision of the quilt. So one of the cool things that this application does is it allows you to add the project to the sketchbook. So if we were to add this to the sketchbook, we can now look at the quilts tab and you can see it's here. Okay, so if we also wanted to just have our standard red, white, and so the other thing you have to be cautious of is it does change the color in here. So you can go into select colorings. It'll allow you to go back to your original colors. And then you can add this to the sketchbook. So now you've got two revisions of the same thing. So let's look at the second one. There's the first one we put in, and there's the second one. So you never lose the pictures that you're building. So the art is never disappearing as long as you're adding it to the sketchbook. And your blocks are still here. You can delete these templated ones. I tend to just leave them there. Sometimes I can use them as a tool to build off of. So as an example, go back into the block workbook, open the sketchbook, and let's bring, I don't know, let's bring this one down. So here's the original, and we can change it however we want. And make it so that it's different than it was. And then we can go in here. It's a great tool. I'm sorry, I just want to share everything with everybody so that they have an opportunity to play with it. That's for sure. I'm not sure what you mean by freehand grid draw. So let's take a look at a new block and see if I can understand what you mean. Before I do this, yes. So there's a couple of different functionalities within the tool that allows you to do free draw on the block. And like draw a house. Okay, yeah, absolutely. I don't see any reason why you couldn't draw a house. Let's try. Let's see. So you got your. That's a bit of a big overhang, but we'll work with it. And we're going to put a door in here. It's going to be a reasonably sized door. Well, maybe we can reach out to EQ and see whether they can get us a discount, and we'll talk about that and see whether or not we can do it. We'll let you know. So here's my house with a nice double window up top. Round shapes are going to be a challenge unless you're doing an applique block, and I don't like this roof, so I'm going to delete these two lines. And you'll notice here, so I went out 4 inches, or actually 1 or 2 inches, sorry. Big discount. I can't guarantee anything like that, but we'll, like I said, we'll try and reach out to the company and see if they're willing to do anything with us. So we got a challenge here because the center of the roof is not aligned. So now we've got to put a wind something up here. What can we do? I'm going to put a whirligig up on the top of the roof here, so, or maybe it's a chimney. It's a chimney. We'll call it a chimney. So there's our house. So it's not like freehand drawing because you're still snapping to a grid. You can in other functions. So if we're to look at applique, you can draw shapes and ellipses. I think that's the plural of ellipse. And this is how you can build out some of your... That's awesome, Pat. I have mine on too. We've got all kinds of different little shapes here that you can use to make faces. Put a hat on them as well. It's only going to be a small top hat, but we'll... So within this is an applique. Obviously it's not going to be something you can quilt directly, but it's something that you can get the pieces for. And one of the parts we haven't talked about is how we set it up to go and be exported. And that is through here. So as you look at this, you're going to say, nobody in their right mind would do that, except me. So we're going to give him a cool set of greenish eyes. Better green. There we go. A yellow complexion, or an orange yellow complexion. And a blue mouth with a black hat. Or should it be a white hat? For all of those computer people out there that know what a white hat is versus a black hat. So now we've got an applique here. So I'm not going to go into the thread portion of it yet. We'll continue. We'll cover off a lot of this as we go forward. He's not sick. He's just different. He's got green eyes. So as you can see, there's some setup options here, or not setup, but the actual printing templates. So you can see here, when you click on the templates option, it shows you what it is that it's going to give you as a template, and then if you click here in preview, it shows you the build out for what you're actually going to do as an applique. So you're going to cut out all of these individual pieces, and you'll notice G here. I'm not sure how you're going to cut that out, but I wouldn't necessarily do it. You notice that it's an actual mistake. So you can go back and you can actually click on, well, you can't click on anything here, but you would have to go back and edit your... No, this is not our mascot, and he doesn't have a name. This is just an example for today. So these are all the different pieces that are associated with what we're working on. So for this face. So here's the big part, and it would go on top, and then you've got this piece here, and if you were trying to pretend like you were building him, you can rotate different pieces. Of course, that's not what I wanted to do. Keep it down over there. If you guys would like, I can post this one as a quick PDF template, just the applique for everybody. And we're going to rotate. Some days technology works for you, some days it doesn't. So anyway, this is the print area. You wouldn't necessarily go in and do this when you're printing. You want these pieces to be separate so that people have their cut lines and such. So you can see here, this is the piece that you're going to be using. This is your cut line. If you were going to sew, the pieces overlapped. If you're going to applique, you're going to cut to the inside line. And that will give you the crazy looking dude with the big wide open mouth. Then you can print that off and use it for your settings. Okay, so I better actually save this block if you guys want it. Okay, so within the thing, we now have our little buddy here. He's we could call him Top Hat Pop if you want, because we do have him still in the mix somewhere. But that's how we're gonna do our weekly, or sorry, monthly block. Is we're gonna pick one of these blocks, and on the weekend we're gonna have Lurlin build it. So it's up to you guys. Do you think she should do the Y seams and make it really complex, or do you think we should just go back to a simple version? Anybody? No Y seams. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at how we can make these blocks easier for us to work with without the Y seams. You can sort of hear her in the background, I think, complaining about Y seams, I guess. So we're just going to go into the original design, and we're going to delete all of those additions that we added. Maybe not the first one. How about we look at Y seams in a future version? So now we've taken out all the Y seams. And you'll notice that some of the colors actually stayed the way that they should be, and some of them actually changed over. So we have to go back in and add the correct colors. In this case, these ones. And I think that was it. Oh, missed a couple. There we go. So there's the simple version. And now that we've saved it, it's available for us in our thing. So we can do the complex version or we can do the simple version, whichever we choose. And that's how simple things are in this tool. It's really quite straightforward. As we go through these each month, you're going to see how simple they are to do. And it's really about your creativity. It's more, yes, they will be available on probably Sunday. The design will be available for download off of the website. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put both the Y-seam version and this version up. So those that wanted to try the Y-seams can try the Y-seams, and those that don't want to don't have to. So that should make it a little bit easier for everybody. Hi Deb, this is the EQ8 program. It's a very expensive application, but it is, as I've said throughout the whole thing, it's fairly complex, but it's also one of the best tools that I've found for doing plain design. And as everybody probably saw, it was fairly straightforward. Yeah, it's really a fun application to use. What about paper piecing the Y-seams? So let's take a look at this one. So to paper piece, you generally will just require something as part of your printouts. And I think, as you can see here, there's some foundation stuff that can be done. It does numbering and things like that. I'm just checking some things here to see where within the printout we could go to get didn't like that too much. Templates maybe. Yeah, so we'd have to use this section here to do the paper piecing. And I don't know that it would be too challenging. Actually, no matter what way you do it, you've got a complex or a compound seam here. So no matter what you're going to do, it's going to have a challenge for the quilter. And this is what I was saying when you do your designs. I will include it in the zip file, Gypsy's mom. Great to hear, Judy. I'm glad that you've learned a few things, and I hope that we can continue to teach as we go through this. So when you're building your designs, you have to consider not only your audience, and you also have to consider your quilter. So one of the things that you want to consider is whether or not your design can be built. And in this case, it can be built, and there's actually two ways to do this. You could do your Y-seam or from a paper piece perspective, you're going to have to do a double line. So it's going to be a challenge no matter which way you do it. Depends on the block. We're going to do a paper piece block a little bit later, because it's so complex from a thought perspective. You can do some really great things with paper piecing, but one of the keys is how you lay out your lines have to align with how you would sew. So you really have to be thinking about more than just doing your standard draw a line here and get a block. The paper piecing build is actually quite a bit different in the way that you would do it, and in this case, I honestly think that the easiest way to do this is a Y seam, and hopefully somebody I know will take on the challenge, and we'll see what happens. Okay, anybody have any questions about this this tool and this design? Because I know this is going to be a little bit shorter than our normal live streams, but I just wanted to give everybody an initial view of this tool. You can absolutely use graph paper to design this. You can use graph paper to do anything. This essentially is graph paper, just on the computer. Pat, there's a possibility that it will work with Windows 10. You just need to set it up to be backwards compatible with Windows 7 or something along those lines. Okay. Not a problem, and we're definitely going to keep all of these things as we go along. So every design that we do, we're going to have them available. We're going to print them out and get them available on the website. Absolutely, it will be available on Sunday for everybody who doesn't have EQ8. Like I said, if you do have a version of or a different type of software that you want us to take a look at throughout these things, let us know. We're happy to take a look at different pieces of software. We're going to continue to grow what we do here on the Mom and Pop Quilt Shop channel, and hopefully you all want to come along for the ride and learn some more about these technical pieces of software, and we may even get into some other things like educational computer stuff and things like that as we go along, just because that's where I come from. So I hope you yeah, you tuned in really late. We've been online for just about an hour now, so hope you've all enjoyed the stream, and we will see you on Sunday or Saturday if you're going to watch the building of the block. So thanks everybody, and we will see you next time.